Welcome to Mission Control, Ensign.
The primary weapons on the TIM-19 interceptor are antibody enhancers that use the patient's own defense mechanisms as a source of ammunition. Essentially, the enhancers collect antibodies from the surrounding plasma through collection vents in the underside of the vessel and amplify their natural germ-fighting abilities through an electrochemical process. These supercharged antibodies are then launched through the emitters on the front of the vessel. This process obviates the need for bulky, expendable loads of chemical weapons or surgical lasers which could potentially harm the patient. The ammunition source is virtually inexhaustible and is totally harmless to the patient while being highly lethal to the invading organisms attacking the body. These antibody enhancers come in three ranges, which are designated simply as light, medium, and heavy. Their official nomenclatures are BDM-16-2, BDM-24-2, and the BDM-43-2. They each have a different rate of fire and level of effectiveness. Currently, the TIM-19 interceptor carries 4 internally mounted enhancers of the light and medium variety. The heavy enhancer is still in the final stages of testing, but is expected to come online soon. The enhancers draw their power from the TIM-19's internal power pack. Usually, the pilot will vary the pattern of weapon choice based on the type of target and the situational constraints. The Mark 46 binary torpedo is also in the final stages of testing. The torpedo launcher is to be externally mounted on the TIM-19 and will hold up to 40 Mark 46 torpedoes. These weapons contain 2 chemical agents which are kept in compartments divided by a thin glass-like membrane. These chemicals are harmless when kept separate, but when mixed together, the resulting chemical reaction forms an agent that is highly toxic to the invading organisms. This chemical is non-toxic to humans in the minute doses contained in the warheads. The Mark 46 torpedo is propelled magnetically, since conventional propulsion systems would leave harmful fuel byproducts in the patient's bloodstream. Another safety feature of the Mark 46 is its FFRC, friend or foe recognition computer, which is programmed with the DNA structure of the patient prior to insertion. When the torpedo impacts, it compares the DNA pattern of whatever it strikes to the patient's DNA. If the pattern is a match, the membrane separating the chemicals will not rupture, and an internal process reduces the chemicals to an inert state. The torpedo is then removed with the TIM-19 at the end of the mission.
Eyes. Image. Pupil. Sclera. Optic nerve. Eyelashes. Welcome to Mission Control, Ensign. Welcome to Mission Control, Ensign.
The backbone of the Might Force is the TIM-19 interceptor, affectionately known by the pilots who fly them as Tiny Tim. Tiny Tim's hull is composed of an organic compound that is biochemically altered to match the patient's DNA pattern prior to insertion. This ensures that the body's own defenses, antibodies, don't attack the ship as another invader while inside the patient. This organic coating is closer to tissue than metal, so it could be said that Tiny Tim is alive in a loose sense of the word. The TIM-19 interceptor's maneuvering system is entirely electromagnetic. There are no internal moving parts. The matter reduction field has the capacity to shrink an object's size, but not its mass. So in effect, you get a microbe that weighs 3,214.37 pounds, the exact weight of a combat-loaded TIM-19. This massive weight is held in check using a slightly modified WRC-37 gravity resist generator, similar to the propulsion systems used for the Academy's ambulances. The TIM-19's maneuverability is not like an airplane or even a submarine. The inertial controls on the onboard computer regulate the electromagnetic field to keep the craft a safe distance from the surrounding tissue. Since the pilot cannot escape by flying away, he or she is monitored from the outside by a sophisticated scanner, roughly similar to the antiquated ultrasound processes used to see inside a patient's body during the late 20th century. When the pilot accomplishes the mission, or is too damaged to continue, the ship and pilot are reduced yet again, almost to the subatomic level, and are extracted through the cell wall using controlled gravity, where they are returned to normal size once outside of the patient's body. The TIM-19's means of defense is an electromagnetic bowl projected over the front and sides of the vessel from two internal shield generators. These generators draw power from their own power pack so as not to deprive the weapons or maneuvering pods of energy during combat. This power arrangement has its disadvantages, namely that the shield power packs cannot generate as much power as the main plant. Thus, they are more susceptible to damage from the bioelectric bursts emitted by the attacking organisms. It is nearing the end of the 21st century, and despite phenomenal gains in technology, humanity is still plagued by infectious disease. In fact, things are much worse than ever before. Many new strains of infection and disease began to appear in the late 20th century that were highly resistant to conventional medicine. These infections manifested themselves as normal symptoms of common ailments, but they quickly multiplied and changed. A common cold or a simple scratch could become life-threatening in a matter of hours. These superbugs were responsible for many deaths as the medical profession struggled to find a cure. New drugs were pressed into service, but the superbugs mutated faster than medical science could advance. Many of these treatments had terrible side effects that were almost as bad as the disease itself. Over the years, the situation continued to get worse. Things looked grim as disease began to spread and the fatality rate climbed. People were becoming desperate. It was time for a different approach. The military and space program had been working on a matter-reducing field that would make transportation of bulky loads many times easier. Dr. Avery J. DeStefano, the Nobel Prize-winning microbiologist, proposed a radical twist to this idea that could possibly provide a solution. The year is now 2094, and the latest weapon in the battle to rid mankind of this microbial threat is the Might Force, in what is being called Operation Internal Front. The technology for this new strategy was developed by the military at MIST-MD, or the Military Institute of Science and Technology, Medical Division, otherwise known as the Academy. This program centers around the ability to shrink a human pilot in a specially designed ship to the size of a pinhead. The ship is composed of an organic compound that is biochemically matched to the patient to prevent rejection and attack by the body's own defenses. The ship and pilot are then transported into the body, where it attacks the disease organisms directly with specially designed bioweapons. This process is known as MIGHT, or Microbiological Internal Tactical Engagement. The first trials of this highly controversial program were plagued with failure, and several test pilots made the ultimate sacrifice. It took several years of frantic experimentation to stabilize the process. Eventually, the kinks in the technology were worked out, and selection and training of a squadron of the military's top pilots began in earnest. Operation Internal Front has just begun, and field operations at the Academy Hospital on actual patients is underway. This is the final hurdle before widespread application of this discovery signals the start of the worldwide offensive against the superbugs. You have just completed your basic training as a Might Force pilot, and your orders have been issued directing you to report to Commodore J.T. Ridley at the Academy for active duty. You will be among the first to beat back this insidious threat and blaze a trail for others to follow in the next battle to save humanity. Welcome to the Academy. Through your course of study, you will learn the basics of human anatomy and test and improve your combat skills against various infections. All of our cadets are equipped with modern ships and state-of-the-art weapon technology. You will be fully prepared for any battle you encounter. For each mission you are assigned, you will need to review the body system so that you are fully prepared to go into combat. You will be assisted in locating the infection for your first few missions. After that, you will need to rely on your own deductive skills based on clues given in the patient review. To begin the mission, the reduction ray will shrink you and your ship to be injected into the body for combat. Good luck. You now have the basics needed to begin your first mission. While working on a car engine, a spray of grit from the engine has scratched the mechanic's cornea. A nasty bacteria infection has set in and the patient is experiencing discomfort and pain. The sclera looks red and irritated. The bacteria must be stopped before it can cause a loss of vision. For your first mission, you will be taken directly to the eye to test your battle skills against the bacteria and save the patient's vision. The patient is feeling 100% better thanks to you. You did a perfect job safeguarding the body in there. I'm glad to see that your ship is in good shape. A good pilot knows how to defend both the patient and his ship. Dismissed.
Welcome to Mission Control, Ensign.
The patient has been experiencing extreme vertigo or dizziness. He says he feels off balance and everything seems to be spinning. If he moves his head, even slightly, the symptoms get worse and are accompanied by extreme nausea. A closer examination has revealed a viral infection in the semicircular canals. The virus has caused an imbalance in the air pressure within the canals and damaged the tympanic membrane. The infection is quite painful and must be stopped before it spreads further. For your second mission, you will be taken directly to the ear. Find the semicircular canals and stop the virus.
Body at 50%.
The Academy can't afford to lose a patient. You must develop a strategy that protects you and the body, or we're all in big trouble. I'm glad to see that your ship is in good shape. A good pilot knows how to defend both the patient and his ship. Dismissed.
Welcome to Mission Control, Ensign.